My name is Brittany Howard, and I'm enrolled in Dr. Michele Prettyman-Beverly's online Film Perspectives of Society and Film class through Middle Georgia State College. This presentation is a follow-up of our analysis paper, which was an analysis paper over a film that discussed issues that were addressed in our course. The influential film that I picked was 1985 Steven Spielberg's The Color Purple. This influential film was nominated for 11 Academy Awards and received 1 Golden Globe for Best Actress. This Golden Globe went to Whoopi Goldberg, who plays the main star in the film, Celie. She plays alongside such stars such as Oprah Winfrey and Danny Glover in the film. This film is so memorable and impressionable on society because this film exposed the flaws of American society of the time period. The time period that this film is set in is the early 1900s, the late 1940s. And it's important to think about the racial prejudice and gender prejudice that were present in these times. So one of the ways that the film addresses these issues and exposes these flaws is through male dominance throughout the film. Male dominance is prevalent throughout the entire film, starting in the very beginning. In one of the opening scenes of the film, we're shown Celie giving birth to her second child by her father. Just follow me on that. And her father comes in the room and confiscates the child, the newborn infant, and takes it away and says, "Better not never tell nobody but God." And it's important to note Celie and Nettie's reaction in this film and how timid and how they recoil and they don't say a word. And this also shows family hierarchy models of the time. What the father said goes. So you did hear me correct in saying the second child by her father. Sexual abuse and sexual assault is highlighted in this film. The director uses close-ups on the character's face to show their creepy, perverse smiles and the way that they taunt and stalk the girls before they attack them is literally showing their need for dominance over these other female characters. Male dominance is also shown in the film in the scene when Celie is shown brushing one of Mr.'s children's hair. And the child's crying out in pain, and Mr.'s like, "Shut up, quiet down." And Celie kind of says something in defense for the child, and Mr.'s dominance launches him at her and strikes her across the face. And it's important to notice Celie's reaction. Whenever she did sort of defend, she got hit for it. And then it's really important to notice how she silences. She just accepts it and says, "Okay, not gonna talk back to you." So this idea that she starts to believe that maybe this is just how things are, this is her life and the way she's gonna be living it is being abused all the time. This idea is reinforced in the scene when Harpo, which is Mr.'s son, he's in love with Sophia in the film, and Sophia is portrayed by Oprah Winfrey, and she has more of a outgoing look on life, and she stands up for herself, and she doesn't just get pushed and slapped around like Celie does. And in the film, Harpo is confessing to Mr. that he's having trouble with Sophia and her stubbornness. She does what she wants. She doesn't do what he wants her to do. So Mr. says, "You should hit her, rough her up a little bit, and that'll teach her." And Celie comes out and agrees, and she's like, "Yeah, you should." So Harpo hits Sophia. No one hits Oprah Winfrey and gets away with it. So Sophia fights back, and she goes and she confronts Celie, and she's like, "What are you thinking? Like, why would you tell him to hit me? What's wrong with you and your thinking?" This is Sophia implanting the idea of hope and of a better future in Celie's mind. And it's important to note how different Sophia's thoughts are and her stance is than Celie's. So social class is another theme that is addressed in this film. Social class is shown in the scene in which Shug is wearing this extravagant shiny red dress, and she's performing in Harpo's juke joint, and all of the male other customers are just pretty much drooling over her, just have both eyes on her. And this shows how women were objectified of the time, but it also shows social class, because in comparison to Celie, you would definitely presume that Shug, wearing the fancy, extravagant, shiny red dress and huge peacock headdress, is in a higher class than Celie, who is portrayed timid and shy and wearing dingy old clothing. Social class is also addressed in this film in the grocery market scene, in which Celie is shown wearing dingy, old, ratty clothes with a robe, in comparison to another shopper in the store, a female who's wearing business attire, what would look like in today's times, business attire, and more fashionable, newer clothing. You would definitely presume that this character was in a higher social class than Celie, who appeared to, have it rough. Racial prejudice and gender prejudice is also shown in this scene. The white male store owner in this grocery market is just buy something or leave, just really adamant on either they need to get something or they need to go. They can't just be hanging around. He's not only this way towards them because of their race, but also because of their gender. Female in the times were looked at a lot differently than they are now. And it's important in this scene also to notice Celie's reaction and how she just goes. She doesn't say anything back to the store owner. So women's responsibility and the views of women's roles in the home are also addressed in this movie. It can be seen in the scene in which Celie was brushing the child's hair. We can go back and use that example. When Mr. first comes to court Nettie originally, he's like, he straight up says, I need someone to take care of my kids in my home. He's not interested in her or loving her at all. He just needs someone to take care of his family, which shows women's responsibilities in the home. And the thought that Mr. was not going to do women's roles in the home. He wasn't even going to brush his own child's hair. Simple thing as brushing their child's hair. He wasn't going to do it. Women's responsibilities in the home are also viewed in the scene in which Mr. is poorly attempting to make breakfast for Shug. He's shown mad dashing around the kitchen, totally lost, making a mess, doesn't know what he's doing. And Celie finds this so humorous that she just pulls up a chair and sits to watch and laugh at the event. And this shows that, Celie is a homemaker. Obviously, she's the woman of the home. Those were her responsibilities and her duties at the time, to be the homemaker and to cook and to clean and take care of the kitchen. And obviously, shown in this scene, depicted in this scene, Mr. has no clue, has no idea what he's doing. Going back to women being viewed as objectives, that can be seen in the scene in which Mr. goes to originally court Nettie. He says, I need someone to come take care of my home. And Nettie and Celie's father responds back with, you can't have Nettie, but I'll give you Celie. You can have her. I don't really want her. You can have her. This shows how women were just objectified of the time. Women were just looked at as objects and not really as human beings like women are in today's society. So the scene in which Mr. is mad dashing around the kitchen trying to cook for Shug, why is he risking being embarrassed and being laughed at by Celie, when usually he's really stern and would probably definitely slap her around normally in this instance? This shows the whole movie's underlying message of love and the strength of love and how it encourages these characters to continue enduring and eventually leads to their prevail. Harpo and Sophia's love throughout the film, Nettie and Celie's love throughout the film. Celie was, when Mr. forced Nettie off of his property because she fought back to sexual assault, which, how can you blame her? Celie was torn, He's taken her love, the one thing that keeps her driving through life. He's taken that away from her. And Nettie states in that scene, nothing but death will keep me from her. So Celie's thinking, she's going to be rotten. Well, Celie never receives any letters because, little does she know, Mr.'s hiding them from her. So Celie's love, her underlying force, has gone, has disappeared. She's had her love taken away from her. So she doesn't really have a reason to live, you know. But she gets influenced by Sophia's thoughts and her stance. And she's also encouraged through Shug. Shug's love for Celie becomes her driving force in replace while she thinks Nettie is dead. Shug helps Celie to find the letters from Nettie that Mr. had been hiding all along. And when Celie finds these letters, her spark and her love for her sister Nettie is immediately reignited, and that is immediately her driving force that a better future, a better hope for a better future is, you know, there is hope. So this is, this leads to Celie's sternness at the dinner table in some of the closing scenes of the film when Shug announces that her and her husband are moving to Tennessee and Celie's coming with them. Mr. immediately starts recanting, well, what do you think you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And Celie just finally says, no, enough is enough. She puts her hand down. She says she's had it. She's never asked for anything. And she's leaving. She's going to do this for her. And it's so important to note here in this scene her reaction to his sternness, you know, to him usually being very abusive. It's important to notice how her views have changed and how she's actually standing up for herself now. Going back to racial prejudice, I didn't hit even on the most important racially prejudiced scene in the film, in which Sophia and her kids are in the middle of town and they are approached by the mayor's wife, and she makes a comment along the lines of, oh, wouldn't you love to come work for me? You know, kind of insinuating and hinting back towards slave days. And Sophia is just, no, heck no, not having anything like that, which again shows her stance and her views on women and racial independence, which were forthcoming in the time. So that is how this film exposes American flaws of the time and how it addresses the themes course of race, gender, and class. Thank you.